good all weekend. I did too.
I didn't sleep good last night. I don't know what it was. Just so much anticipation over the meeting, I think.
That was probably it.
Gotta be.
That happens to me twice a month.
Overstimulated with joy.
I mean, it's good. Yeah, it's that time already, isn't
It is that time.
it? She's must have been
Hmm?
We did a Celsius.
Mm.
Ready to go?
There it is.
All right, here we go. I'll call the meeting to order. It's Montcalm County Board of Commissioners, regular meeting for Monday, September 25th. We'll begin with a pledge of allegiance, and I'd invite you to remain standing for the prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Vice Chairman Peterson.
Yeah, today we have Pastor Samson Cawson from Pine Grove Church. Lead us in prayer, please.
Almighty Father, thank you for today. Thank you for each one that's here. Thank you for this great nation that we live in, Lord, and for the state that we live in as well. Father, you continue to bless it. Thank you for each one of these board members that are present and their desire to serve in this capacity. I pray that you bless their meeting. Lord, you would continue to bless the great county of Montcalm. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Baker,
Present.
Johnston,
Here.
Peterson,
Yes, ma'am.
Painter,
Here.
Mahar,
Here.
Carr,
Yes,
Cohen.
Present.
everyone's here.
At full strength.
On tonight's agenda, I don't have any changes. Does anyone else?
Mr. Chair,
Johnston.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve the agenda as presented. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Have two sets of minutes to approve tonight, the special meeting of September 11th and also the regular meeting September 11th and the special meeting September 14th. Any comments, questions, corrections on those? Take them one at a time, or we can take them together, whatever you prefer.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Johnston.
I'd move to approve the Board of Commissioners meeting minutes from September 11th, 2023.
Is there support?
Or
It's been moved and supported to approve the Board of Commissioners meeting minutes, regular meeting September 11th, 2023 as presented. Discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
we're gonna do the next ones. I'll move the minutes from the special meeting September 14th, 2023. Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve the minutes of the special meeting September 14th, 2023 as presented. Discussion. If there's no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public comments. Hearing no public comments, Vice Chairman Peterson with tonight's correspondence, please.
Oh man, you're asking a lot to get this in before 6:10. Did you want to not going on the line here, but did you want to open maybe the public hearing first and then do the correspondence? And
We can, or if we're not done with correspondence, we'll
all right.
take a break and come back to it.
Perfect. All right. First up on the correspondence is the POAM-COAM letter of agreement request. It's pretty straightforward. We approved a very large raise for POAM and COAM back through budget talks. And this contract is part of those raises, just the formalities, boilerplate stuff that we have to run through the unions, and this is the agreement. Does anybody have any questions on this? And do we know if anybody's beating our doors in to
No,
sign up now that we got these high wages?
I haven't heard it.
Okay. Well, we got enough cars out there to facilitate at least 14 more people.
Yeah.
I guess I would move to approve the POAM and COAM letters of agreement and allow for the appropriate signatures.
It's been moved and supported to approve the POAM, COAM letter of agreements and allow for the signatures. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Next up is the grant between the state of Michigan and the Department of Corrections with Montcalm County. Funding supports local and approved comprehensive correction plans that impact state board priorities, target populations, key objectives through the use of evidence-based programming services. I believe this is the same one we do every year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One note I will add, he was hoping to get more than that. So he did a budget of 177,000, but didn't get that much. So I will have to budget adjust his 24 budget down. But he knows that.
He was hoping to get 177 and got
He
96,
was hoping to get 152. Yeah.
and he budgeted 177.
Yeah, because he gets about 25K in tether fees every year. But they didn't let him have what he wanted. So
Doesn't look like it. Shot a long ways out.
mhm.
Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns on this? Hopefully he adjusts his budget for the next.
Yeah, he
budget
might
process.
not shoot so high next year.
Right. If not, I would move to authorize and allow for the appropriate signatures on grant number CPS-2024-1-21 with the Department of Corrections fiscal year 2024.
Support. It's been moved and supported. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
All right, next up is the MERS Plan Adoption Agreement request. I'm sure Brenda can speak a little bit more to that.
So this was the request that our jail administrator made during the budget process this summer that we kind of put in a pending status until we found out from MERS if it could happen. MERS did an evaluation based on going forward only with him being in the DB plan and a retro back to his data hire. And there was virtually no additional cost to do it going retro. So I assumed that's what we would grant them. So this is just the paperwork to make all that happen. So once it's approved and sent it back to MERS, then he will, I'm going to put him in 10-1 and we'll start deducting accordingly if you guys approve it on his first October paycheck.
And again, we did approve this during the budget process, so it is something we've already discussed at length and have recently found out that MERS will allow us to do it at a low cost. I don't think it's virtually no cost, but there is, compared to some transfers, it's a low cost.
Well, it's something that'll be done over time.
Right.
So.
If nobody has anything, I would move to authorize the board chair to sign the plan adoption agreement, allowing the jail administrator to be transferred to the COAM defined benefit pension plan.
Which that will mean every jail administrator after this point will then be in that plan. That's
Until we
basically
change
what
it.
we're doing.
Until we change it.
Good luck to you.
Right.
Is there support? Support. It's been moved and supported to authorize the board chair to sign the plan adoption agreement allowing the jail administrator to be transferred to the COM benefit, or excuse me, the COM defined benefit pension plan. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, next up is a wage request from EMS. Looks like Karina Style. What is it? Stia? Okay. She came in 6 months ago with 9 years of experience. Looks like there was a little bit of a question based on separation from her former employer. Started out at the lowest possible wage or the first step. She has completed the FTO program, had a schedule, shown to be reliable, punctual, and frequently helps out. I think Eric is looking to move her to the 2-year wage step instead of the 6-month wage step on her 6-month anniversary. Eric is in the audience if anyone has any questions or if he would like to justify it further.
Well, I guess the short story is Karina came to us with lots of experience and lots of really good things on paper, interviewed very well. All things being equal, somebody that we would have started out up on the pay scale due to her experience and extra certifications and stuff. Because by contract, we can do that at the beginning. But there's always a little bit of uncertainty when somebody leaves the former employer under less than ideal circumstances. So after talking, we decided that we would just start her out at the starting wage and give her a chance to essentially prove herself. And she's certainly done that over the past 6 months, and there's no provisions to skip any steps in the wage scale in the contract. So I told her if all went well, that I would come up here and advocate for us moving her up to where we probably would have started her in the first place. So here we are. So her 6-month anniversary, I believe, is October 12th. And currently she would go to $22.97. Instead, the 2-year step would be $23.95 or 92, something like that. So it's a little less than $1 increase is what we're asking for.
Anybody have anything for Eric?
Well, just to be, I guess for the case of transparency, this would not really have any material effect on your budget, correct?
Probably $2,000 a year.
Right. De minimis impact.
They wouldn't feel it, no. If nothing else, I would move to move Karina Style to 2-year step on the pay scale at her 6-month anniversary, so long as there's no disciplinary issues in the meantime. Or
It's been moved and supported. Discussion.
It is October 12th too.
Cool.
If there's no other discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Maybe we'll move to the public hearing.
perfect. I got a line drawn where we ended.
Okay. Our 6:10 agenda, we had, get back to it.
The Daggets.
Daggetts are here to discuss a variance to the construction ordinance or appeal to the construction ordinance. If you want to come up here to the table up front. I don't know, Phil, if you want to come up, you're welcome as well.
Up here?
Yeah, you come right around here. I'd entertain a motion to open a public hearing for the purpose of this.
So moved.
Is there support? Support. It's been moved and supported to open a public hearing for the purpose of an appeal to the construction ordinance. Discussion. If not, all those in favor say aye.
All right.
Opposed? Motion carried. We're now in a public hearing to discuss the appeal to the construction ordinance. So anyone else in the audience or anyone can comment on that if need be, but we'll start out with you folks. If you want to give us we've got your drawings, we've got your letter. Maybe just explain to us firsthand what it is that you're asking for.
Well, we have 10.5 acres. We'd like to put up a little house for our 24-year-old special needs son. So he kind of gets some independence, but he's still close enough. If something happens, we're there.
Sure.
He gets $700 a month to live on, so he can't rent a place, and this kind of gives him his own little place to go.
Bill, what's the building department's take on it?
Well, according to the county's construction ordinance in section 6.A, says that no single parcel of property shall be allowed to have more than one dwelling on that parcel, whether or not the dwellings are occupied. It's really not our place in the building department to authorize these activity. It rests on your shoulders.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Vice Chairman Peterson.
Phil, Commissioner Carr and I were talking before this. There was a similar situation this a month ago, correct?
Correct.
And Mike has talked about the need for us to kind of amend this part of the construction ordinance to allow multi-dwelling homes in instances like this, correct?
Correct. Yeah, he
Okay.
was hoping to see some language added to this construction ordinance for an exception on that.
And what do we as a board have to do to get that ball rolling? Is that something you guys can handle and bring to us? Is that something we'd have to send to our council?
I don't really know on that.
Could you get back to me on it?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. But other than that, I mean, this is another one of those things where we have a set of tax-paying Americans that want to put a home on their property to let their son have a little bit of independence, and the building department's only objection outside of, or the only objection is that it's against the ordinance, correct?
Correct.
Other than that, you guys are fine with it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
I assume there's been nobody from the public that's raised any objection whatsoever.
I don't believe so.
Haven't heard a peep from anyone.
Well, we talked to all of our neighbors also, and they're all for it. We went around and talked to them before we started the process to make sure there's no issues.
And are you just going to bring in a single wide, or is it just?
We
gonna
have
be
a
like-
contractor who's gonna actually put up a stick built.
Okay. So he's gonna have a nice little spot there. huh?
Yes.
Perfect.
Is there a reason why you haven't just split the property and so he has his own tax ID number?
Well, if
Then
we
you
split
can-
the property, then it goes into his name, and he's only allowed X amount of dollars on his disability. And that would be over his amount of allotted assets.
Oh,
Because we talked to his caseworker about this already too, and she said, yeah, it can't be in his name. It's more like a rental.
That he won't pay rent on. It's just,
Yeah.
I see. I'd be interested to know what like an assessor's take is, because essentially you've got two homes, but yet for tax purposes, you've got one property. And so I'd be curious to know what their feelings are on that. I mean, there is a remedy for this. That's my problem that I have with these hearings. The remedy is you can do it legally. You just have to split it, get your own tax ID number, and do it. And so, I mean, to some degree, folks are trying to skirt around.
no, I'm just trying to keep his assets at what they can be. And that puts him over that asset. So that $700 he has to buy groceries and live on now gets cut down to $300. Well,
Right.
a person can't live on $300 buying groceries for a month. It's impossible.
I understand, but is he on Social Security? Is that or
He's got disability.
Disability.
disability?
Yeah.
And so it
And
is
then-
his home, right? It's going to be his home.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so disability is saying that's his home, so he has an asset. And so you guys are trying to,
Well, he
to
don't have an
circumnavigate
asset. It's
the
still
law.
in our name.
What's that?
It's still in our name.
I understand, but you're
It's
still
no different than the house down the road from us that has the mother-in-law house on top of their garage.
It is different.
It's not, because they got a person dwelling in it. It's a second home. It's just in the top of their garage. How is that different?
I think I would look at a mother-in-law suite on top of a garage a little different than its own standalone home.
I wouldn't. You still got a person living in it. You're still paying taxes on the same property, but you do have a second home there. And it's not the only one in this county or in our township that has that.
This is gonna have its own utilities,
Yes,
its own.
just like they do.
I would personally be appalled if we rejected this. This is just like I said, two tax-paying American citizens trying to provide for their disabled son, trying to give him some sort of independence. If we were to say you have to split your property and make him, that is just unbelievably asinine. You can say they're trying to skirt good. I think it's a stupid rule anyways, and it's our rule. We need to change it anyways to say, oh, we need to make him pay tax. No, absolutely.
City of
not.
Greenville has the same ordinance. They
Good
don't
for
allow.
them.
I mean,
They can-
I don't think
They
most.
can keep that dump the way it is.
I don't think most places allow homes just to be thrown. A bunch of homes to be thrown out on one piece of property. I mean, you
Yeah,
need
but
to-
this we're not making a shanty town. This is somebody's son that's trying to form some sort of independence. It's not. We're letting them throw 18 little sheds up and they're housing tiny home village. It's a disabled son trying to form some sort of independence. Probably take a little bit of give the parents a little bit of freedom, give the son a little bit of freedom. What in the world would we say? Well, let's make them split it and make the son pay his own taxes. Then he would have an asset, would not be able to collect probably as much of his disabilities. And you say we're skirting right. Good. I hope we are.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, there's a lot of properties around the country, no matter what some of the towns or counties have or locally. There's a lot of properties around this country that have guest houses. And they're on the same property, the same people own them, they pay the taxes on the whole thing. And that would be what this could be called, is a guest home. It happens to be a son in there, but sometimes people have those when another family comes along and they want a private spot right on the property with the folks. So a guest home is what I think it should be. I think we should authorize it and be done with it.
I agree with you as to the specifics of this particular case, that the adult son, it would be a nice gesture for him to be able to have his own living space, and that's fair. But at some point, as a board, we need to figure out if we're going to enforce our rules or not. And I don't know why we have these every week, and it's always zoning, and we always let people do whatever they want. And so I don't know what the point of these zoning laws, these rules are.
Okay, so I can put them up in my garage, give it its own electric meter, and be fine because it's attached to my house. I was told that through your building department when I started this whole process. He asked, "Is it gonna be attached to my garage, our house?" I said, "No, it's separate." He goes, "Well, then you gotta come do this." But if it was attached to my house, I could put my own power to that place and set it up as an apartment with no issues.
I believe
It's the same thing. It's a house. It's above my garage is the only difference.
I believe you.
So what, I guess, and you don't have to answer this question. Why aren't you this vocal when Crystal comes every other month and says, we want to put our house 6 inches away from our neighbor's house?
Well, I'm to the point where we have these every other meeting. And as far as I know, every one we've granted, and something needs to give, because we just keep encouraging these hearings by just continuing to just say, yep. And so this was kind of your perspective last meeting.
And it still is.
And where you said,
That's
and so
in Crystal Township.
the specifics of this case certainly would lend me to vote yes. I'm just saying, I do feel as a board, I don't know, we have these zoning laws, but we continue to overstep them every other meeting.
Well, I feel like we're arguing about nothing because our building officials already said they're wanting to change the ordinance to allow this. So we could have a change next month.
What do you think is the reason for that ordinance?
When the ordinance was put into place, the way that Mike Kelko explained to me, they were trying to, and Phil can correct me if I'm wrong, they were trying to cut down on short-term rentals and essentially shanty towns and people putting up little mini homes and renting them out and creating them almost like a trailer park, correct?
That might be the case. I'm not sure
Okay.
on that.
Well, when I talked with Mike about it, he said when this was enacted, when this ordinance was put into place, the people that made it didn't want to see 5 or 6 homes and essentially be able to create a trailer park on any chunk of property anywhere. It wasn't, I mean, it was so loosely worded that there was no mother-in-law suites or anything allowed by that. But I think now we've moved as a society into where, people can't afford to put their loved ones in nursing homes all the time. So they spend that money and care for them on their own property. And I commend them for it. I've been trying to get Phil to make me a mother-in-law suite at his house.
Well, I can tell you, Adam, in Los Angeles, they're trying to encourage people putting little mini homes in their backyard for homeless people. You'd be all over that, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not vocal about this particular situation, although there is a remedy, and the remedy it would be to split it. I think I'm more vocal about the fact that we're dealing with these so much.
I'm right there with you, homie.
Is there any other discussion on this?
Do we want to leave this public hearing open or can we close it?
We can remind everyone in the audience one more time that we're in a public hearing to discuss this appeal to the building ordinance. Is there anyone in the audience that has a comment on this?
I would move to close the public hearing.
It's been moved and supported to close the public hearing. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Chairman,
Vice Chairman Peterson.
I would like to move to grant the appeal to the construction ordinance presented by Bruce and Tanya Daggett.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to grant the appeal to the construction ordinance brought by Bruce and Tanya Daggett. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank
you for coming.
Thank you.
How many bedrooms?
One. No, just one.
Why?
Just curious.
He wants more than the other one.
Yeah.
You guys have a good night.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
That ends our timed agenda appointment. We're back to correspondence, Vice Chairman Peterson.
All right, I got my line drawn at the Burn Justice Assistance Grant. This grant allows us to continue receiving your reimbursement from the state of Michigan for the wages and benefits of the administrative assistants to the CMET team. What is this employee? Who is this employee?
This person is
Yeah.
Carolyn. What's her last name? I don't even remember her name. Doyle.
I believe that Carolyn Doyle would like to continue to be employed, and this grant allows that to happen. Does anybody have anything to that? If not, I would move to authorize the approval of the Burn Justice Assistant Grant for fiscal year 2024 and allow for the appropriate signatures.
It's been moved and supported to authorize the Burn Justice Assistant Grant for fiscal year 2024 and allow for the appropriate signatures. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, next is the Administrative Services Agreement Request. You'll find in your packet, starting on page 78, the agreement between Montcalm County and the CMET team, or I guess it'd just be CMET. Allows the county to function as the paymaster for the administrative assistant for said team. Brenda can speak on that if she would like, or you have any questions about it.
It goes hand in hand with that burn grant. So CMET has to apply for the burn grant to allow Carolyn to continue to work from, and then we, as their payment, we act as their paymaster. So that's what this agreement is about. It's just for us to function in that capacity. Same contract we did a year and a half ago, or almost 2 years ago.
We do it every 2 years.
I think whenever they do an increase.
Mm.
'Cause we
So
did it last
Carolyn's
year.
getting paid as well.
Mhm.
If nobody has anything on this, I would move to authorize the approval of the administrative service agreement between Montcalm County and CMET and allow for the appropriate signatures.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to authorize approval of the administrative services agreement between Montcalm County and CMAT and allow for the appropriate signatures. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, go ahead.
just out of curiosity, Brenda, why do they need us to be the paymaster? They're not
they-
providing insurance, there's no liability, there's no,
Because they rotated around the county, the different counties that are involved in that CMAT. And it's cheaper for them to do it instead of going through like a temp agency. If they had to go through a temp agency, it would cost them money.
gotcha.
So they asked the counties to take turns doing it.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, next up is the hopefully fiscal year 2023 final round of budget adjustments.
It is the final round, yeah.
Nice. So if anybody has any questions or comments on the final round of fiscal year 2023 budget adjustments, please ask Brenda.
And the one you have on your
Wow.
desk is the one I need to have approved. Because it contains, the highlighting on it is additional to what was in the packet last Thursday.
It's a supplement to this?
Yeah, so the only thing that changed was the two highlights, which are offsetting each other. So the net effect is still the same. There's no net effect on fund balance.
Do we still need to take action on these that were in the packet?
No, they're all contained in this one. Everything's in this one. I just added the highlighted
Oh,
one.
so pay attention to this one and not the one
Right.
here.
Right.
But this one has everything. Gotcha.
So the major difference is the one that's presented to us is
Yeah. For
elections.
elections, yeah. And then increase that for,
What was the $30,000 election increase for?
printing of ballots for the most part. I think that was almost 20,000 of it. And then some advertising.
For this
Advertising
last
up-
election? Last
No,
year's election?
It would be for that whole budget year. It was just unplanned elections that weren't budgeted for.
From, what was it, from April? Was it April? Or when did we have an election?
May.
Last election. May.
May had one in August as well.
So it's just from fiscal year 2023.
Mhm.
Which started in November.
Right. Well, the election was in November last year. And what was the,
It's the 911 stuff.
no, I mean, didn't we all have to run last year?
I'm talking about something that wasn't anticipated, I guess.
Right,
Oh, yeah.
The May election was the big one.
Right.
Was our big cost.
So that was the 20,000.
Mhm.
And the rest, I think, is advertising or
And 'cause we have
something.
to, yeah, we're required to run all of those notices. And ad pricing has gone up.
And that's just in the daily news.
Yeah.
I think I put a little bit more to it. I think it was like almost 28,000, but I just rounded it up to 30. Cushion.
And that came out of the general fund revenue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I had under budgeted on convention and tourism tax revenue.
Mm-hmm.
We actually even got a little bit more than that 30,000. We're not very good about estimating that every year for us. Seems like it changes mid-year. So,
So is it coincidence that one washes out the other?
not coincidence. It's beneficial because then we don't have to jump into fund balance.
By design. So it's not coincidence.
But somewhat coincidental that the amount is able to
Oh.
cover that.
Well, I have to have even amounts. I have to have an increase one and an increase the other one of the equal amount when I do a budget adjustment. So like for that tourism tax, I could have gone up to I think it was 37,000 is what I under budgeted because they gave us projections that didn't.
Oh, I see.
But I can't because I got to have equal to the expense I'm increasing.
There was some extra money on
Yeah.
the table there, but you
Yeah.
didn't need it
Yep.
all.
Yeah, I just didn't need to dip into it. And I don't think I could have dipped into interest revenue too, but I didn't.
Okay.
Because we do have to spread the interest amongst all the funds that are in the pool,
Mhm.
and I never know what that's gonna be. So, what the general fund is gonna amount to.
Right.
I'm not
What's your
sure.
pleasure?
Well, I would move to approve the final round of budget adjustments as presented by the controller.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve the final round of budget adjustments for 2023
Three, right.
as presented by the controller. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
All right.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, next up is the warrant report. What, before I go too far into it, what is the 9/14, 9/21, and 9/25? Why are we doing them
Okay, so
7 and 4 days away?
behind us, yeah. So we're
Yeah.
doing them post. So last week there was a little bit of controversy about how budget reports are to be signed, whether they be original blue ink or if they can be scanned copies. And so I asked the auditor, I inquired with the auditors about that. And they pointed me towards the state of Michigan's accounting practices, procedures manual. Chapter 5 indicated nothing in reference to whether warrant reports had to be blue ink original or they could be scanned copies. So I think we've come to an agreement with the clerk on how that we're going to handle that going forward. However, in that same chapter, I learned that anything that we prepay outside of a warrant or outside of a board meeting run, so like bills that are due because of, utilities and things that are due before we have a board meeting, payroll stuff on the week of payroll, those still need to be approved by you after the fact. So we haven't been doing that. So that's
Okay.
why you're gonna see them in here, which it's a good thing. You guys need to see what's going on Thursdays. So every month, every
Agreed.
Thursday of the month. So
So Is it something we can approve all three of the warrant reports at once, or would you like them individually, Chris?
Either way, that's fine. I just,
Just list them off as warrant report number and then list all three of them and,
do
okay,
whichever way you want.
okay. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns on the warrant reports?
Make sure I understand, we are not approving anything in advance, or we are.
Well, you always approve the one in advance. The other two
So
you're
you-
approving
you-
after the fact.
So you run them,
And they're sitting on Amber's desk. So
Right.
for the one for today's date, yep, we process that check run, do the reports in here. You guys approve, she mails tomorrow. If there
Right.
was something in there you wanted us to pull, we'd pull that check out and void it.
Right.
But the other two, the 14th and the 21st, those have already been done and gone. But according to the state's procedures, you still need to approve them after the fact. Which seems odd to me a little bit, but
I don't disagree with what they'd like to have us do.
mhm.
I just want to make sure I
Right.
understand it.
Right. But usually the only thing we pay on those Thursday run are things to citizens like restitution checks, bond, release of bonds, utility bills that have a due date on them that's going to come before a board meeting, all the payroll stuff, the payroll checks for, union dues and deductions and all that.
Jury duty?
No, jury duty comes in on a board run. That's about it.
Mostly out of the trust and agency, in and out types of things.
Yeah. You'll probably see some purchases from the drain funds in there. They do a lot of Thursday run stuff. Amy Thomas, Central Dispatch, all of her stuff goes through Thursdays. Trying to think what else. I think that catches it.
Okay. So if there's nothing else on these, there's going to be a ton of numbers being thrown out right now. But I would move to approve and allow for the appropriate signatures. Warrant reports number 09142023 in the amount of $2,054,672.56. Also warrant number 09212023 in the amount of $44,201.26. And finally, warrant number 09252023 in the amount of $260,877.83.
It's been moved and supported. Discussion. If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, and items 11 through 17 are on your consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, I would move to place items 11 through 17 of the consent agenda on file.
Or
It's been moved and supported to place items 11 through 17 of the consent agenda on file. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
The last two are for your information, and there is no resolutions from other counties. So if there is nothing else under correspondence, that will be your board correspondence for Monday, September 25th.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Peterson.
Thank you.
That ends correspondence. Up next is committee reports. We don't have anything. New business. Item 1, passports. Brenda?
All right. Well, we haven't had this conversation at all concerning passports now that the clerk has moved out to the other building and can't issue them out of that office. I know there was talk early on, probably while Lori Wilson was still the Register of
Yeah.
Deeds, that maybe the Register of Deeds could take on that task of issuing passports. but the new register would like to decline that offer. So we need to figure out what we're doing with passports.
Matt?
Mhm.
I haven't been contacted about this, but I saw it was on the agenda, so I put together some numbers.
I emailed you last week.
Oh, you did? Oh, I didn't see it. Well, it's been a little bit busy, Brenda.
Anyway,
Your average monthly revenue is about $528 in 2022. They picked up a little bit this year. It's about $735. What you have to remember is when you're getting $35 per application, $10 of that is in strictly postage expense. That's what it costs to mail every single one of them out. We do have someone in Stanton that is interested in taking them on, and that's who I've been working with because no one had indicated they were interested in doing them here. And we've been through, well, we've had 10 board meetings since that time and nobody brought it up. So the White Pine Library is very interested. They have began the process of their application process. So I'm just not sure that it would really be worth it for another department to pick them up. It was mostly done as a convenience here. And we've done them since, I think, the 70s. So.
and we were doing them before you could do them at Walmart and Walgreens and almost every corner store. on the
Well, they
market,
do
correct?
photos, but they can't do the application. You have to, only certain agencies can be,
The post office does them.
some post office, yep. Libraries are allowed, court offices, probably any department in the county would be allowed.
Can you educate me a little bit? What would you do exactly?
So applicants they bring their executed application into the office.
Uh-huh.
You have to verify their identity. They have to have certified copies of the birth certificates. They either have to have an old expired passport or their driver's license. We then go through the whole process to make sure that those documents are valid and accurate. We then are authorized through the National Passport Agency to be accepting agents. And then we would sign off on that, verifying that the person that is in front of us is in fact the same person as the documents that are presented. We do have to send in their certified copy of their birth certificate. And then that is eventually returned to them. But you're acting as an agent for the passport agency to verify someone's identity. And the reason we can no longer serve as an agent is because you can't, if you have access to a birth certificate or the safety paper, the state issued safety paper that
Right.
Birth certificates are issued on, you can no longer be an agent. So like the whole time the court office was accepting them, I was not an agent because I could sign birth certificates. So as
So you
soon
need
as
to-
the
you need
girls
to-
from here moved out, we had to stop.
Right. So you need to check and verify whatever you can check and verify, bundle everything up.
Mhm.
You'll probably look at their application, make sure they've
Oh, yeah. we have
filled
to go
everything
through it.
out.
Yep. And now you can't have a single mistake on the application or it has to be redone. So it was mostly a service more than a revenue.
Right. But you get a fee to do it, obviously.
Yep,
Right,
we got a
of course.
$35 fee and then we got a fee for taking the photos.
And what would the library have to do to become a certified agent?
They just do the application process with the passport agency. They're in the process now. They're very close to being certified.
And could I do it if I wanted to do it?
No,
I'd have to be at the library
You'd
could
have to
do
work for the
anything you
library.
put your mind to it, Phil.
because I don't have access to that funny paper or anything.
but only certain people can do, only certain departments or agencies can do it.
Well, I'm just curious how the library can do it.
I don't know. Libraries are one of on their list of accepting agents.
It makes no sense to me whatsoever, but
So logistically, what would that look like? You say that the White Pine Library would take it over.
Well, they know that we had to discontinue and they started their application process as soon as they opened the new library. So they've been in the process for a couple of months.
No offense, but how did they know that you had to stop doing it? Like I didn't
think
know the
it-
passport law well enough, and it's hard for me to wrap my head around them knowing that.
I think
You
it
had
was
to stop.
common knowledge that we were gonna lose. That's something that's always been talked about, that if we combined. And then Patty had approached me, oh gosh, way before she had retired, I think the last July. And once we were getting close to being done, I let them know.
I just wondered, I didn't.
No one
know
here
it
had
was a
expressed
law.
an interest, so.
Well, it sounds like Phil wants to.
I'm just wondering what the qualifications are.
You're qualified,
I
buddy.
just have to work at the library, apparently.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Chris,
they
you
probably
said-
wouldn't hire me, but
No.
The revenue is between like $500 and $700 a
Per
month.
month, yeah.
But then are you saying that $10 of every 35 transaction isn't
That's-
really
I-
revenue? Or
Yeah, that's,
is that included in that
no.
number though, or not?
No.
Okay.
Nope. So last year, if we took the postage out in 2022, this would be from January to December, we would have made $3,150 in processing passport applications. And then we did 126 applications. We took photos for 107 people. So that's more of where it looks like your revenue's coming in, but you have to purchase the camera and the printer and the film. And then over time, you're paying that off, but it takes quite a bit of time. So I would just recommend,
so you're
Letting-
taking pictures too,
yeah, we take photos.
not
yeah.
just looking at paperwork.
Correct. Mhm. And in that same time period, that was $1,926. That was the revenue, not, you have to take out the film and the cost of the printer and all that. And then so far this year, they did pick up a little bit. Taking the postage out, the revenue would have been $32.75 for the applications. And then $19.21 for the photos.
Okay.
So,
It's my understanding when we approached Kim about doing it after she took over as a register of deeds, that her less than interested at this point was because she believed that your office still could do it as long as it was two different employees.
no, absolutely not. And if you need verification from that, happy to provide that to you. Or just talk to the passport agency Friday.
Do we want to inquire with anyone else in-house about whether they want to take that over before we sub it out to the outside agency, or what's your pleasure?
Well, we really aren't subbing out. It was just, we would be done. I mean, they're still going to go through with their application process. But
So what equipment do
Gonna
we
buy our
use?
equipment?
they would like to use it.
So if we found someone in-house, we could keep it.
You could.
They would like to use our equipment or buy our equipment, or
I think they
Neither.
they would like to use it. I mean, if you'd like to sell it, when they get time, when they're approved, yes, if you wanted to sell it to them, you could.
I know their millage has plenty of money to support a camera or two.
I was just looking at it as a public service for our residents. It was a service that we were no longer going to be providing. No one had approached me with any kind of interest in taking that over. It was not a secret that we wouldn't be able to do them anymore. And I don't know why the Register of Deeds is saying that she believes that I'm not being truthful with that, because we would certainly keep them if we could. Because it's always just been a service we provided.
We could put it out to the other offices, but I wouldn't expect too much response. I don't think.
Maybe we
Maybe.
could just give it to another office.
Well, they'd have to be willing to get certified. They'd have to be willing to.
There's probably training involved.
Right.
There's a lot of training. And then, one thing that I think is nice with the library, we close at 4:00. So they're open until 5:30 and 7:00 at night. And then on Saturdays, they have some hours there too. So, I mean, it really does provide.
So if we could get them trained to do birth certificates, that'd be a better option for the public too, because they're open longer. So we could just sub out all the work in the clerk's office because the library is more convenient. I mean, that seems like.
When you ask a valid question, I'll give you an answer. That's
Okay.
that's ridiculous.
Okay.
Mr.
I am
Chairman?
not the one that voted to combine the two
Oh,
offices.
here we go.
so that we could
How that
lose
lasted.
that service.
We got into this discussion by 10 minutes before we brought that up. That was a record.
That is the reason that we can no longer accept them.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
it seems to me that the first step in this is we need to decide if we want the county to offer the service or not.
Yes.
And if we do, then we got to decide where.
Does White Pine Library already have our equipment?
They have lights that were downstairs. Other than that, no.
They have what?
Some lights that were downstairs.
Lights?
Yeah, there were lights that hung above to light up for the
Light
photo.
up the wall.
They don't have the camera?
No.
And who's been doing these in the interim
To my knowledge, people are going to the Greenville post office.
Is the camera even worth? I know when I was out there last fall and got my passport, the girls were complaining about the camera being a
No,
joke.
the equipment's very old. It works. It's Bluetooth with the printer. It's a small printer. All the equipment is functional.
But in this case, I mean, you present this as like, we all knew about this and nobody brought it up, so therefore it was yours to just make a deal with White Pine Library
I
to take it
didn't
over.
make a
so-
deal with anyone. They were interested in providing the service. I
Right.
didn't cut a deal with
But
anyone.
you couldn't have been the one that initiated the agenda or the discussion about
I
this?
did initiate the discussion when
I
you
thought
talked
Brenda
about
asked about
combining
putting
the
this in.
services. I said, or the offices, I said, you are going to lose services that we're no longer going to be able to provide.
But now those
That was
services
not a
aren't
secret.
important. That was a stumbling block to combining the office when you brought it up,
You,
but now
you
it's not
cannot
even
put this
important.
back on me.
Not
This,
even
I will
trying to.
not accept any responsibility for this.
You never do.
Oh, I think I do, if
I
it's
think you
mine.
don't.
What will be on the next agenda to fight about?
You tell me. I don't even interested in fighting about this. Just trying to figure out what our move is. And you're the one.
So I guess personally, I see that it's a service we offer to the constituents, but before this whole move and everything was initiated, I didn't even know we did these. The revenue isn't really that, I mean, it doesn't do anything really for us, especially when you figure out of every $35, we got to take 10 just to send the stuff out. And it just, I mean, we're making 25 per. We could send it out to every other office and see if they want to do it. I think the only one we could corn knife into it would be the controller's office. And that would be one thing they don't need to take on.
I know when I had one of my employees pull a bunch of other counties to see, if it's not done in the clerk's office, where is it done? And most of them, if they even did them still, it was done in the register of deeds office. So if she's not interested in what little revenue it is.
Are we certain that the clerk's office can't do this? I mean, should we
clerk
get some
is.
clarification on it just to make
I don't know,
sure?
maybe you should ask the register of deeds.
I'm just wondering if there's not some precautions or some steps that could take place that, where there's some sort of separation. I don't know. I mean,
Like if the special film was locked in
It's
in
the
the
paper,
safe and
not
all,
the
then
film.
certain
I
people
don't
have
know.
access to it.
I don't know. There's some, I guess, dispute because Chairman, it's your belief
I
that.
think Chris knows the law better than anyone else about what her office can and can't do. I'm content that
Okay.
I had just heard that wasn't the case. Chris clarified that it certainly is. I think she probably knows. I don't have any qualms about that.
My personal feeling is just let the library do it. I don't think it's enough to frog around with revenue wise. I don't think it's a big moneymaker. Yeah, it's another facet of things that we could offer to our citizens, but At the same time, I got mine done at the post office. I know you know, there's just different outlets. A lot of people now, because they don't
You can do it
remember
online.
to get their things done. Well, the ones that do remember, get them done online. The ones that don't, drive it down to Detroit and get them done in a day.
Because you can do that too, right, Chris, online?
In the case of an emergency, if you have tickets,
Right.
proof of travel.
Yeah, so I guess in my mind, it's not gonna be any skin off my back to get rid of it altogether and give it to White Pine Library. Do I think this is an optimal way to go about it? No, but at the end of the day, what's it really matter?
Yeah, and with the minimal amount of revenue it brings in, I
haven't had any
We just needed
constituents
to make a
beating my
decision.
door and saying, where do we do passports?
Okay.
Do we need a motion to allow all that to happen? I mean, if we're gonna give out county property to the White Pine Library, I think.
I don't think we need a motion. We already gave them the lights.
But we can hang on to the camera.
Right, yeah.
They just said the camera isn't any good anyway.
What is the property entail, I guess? I mean, if White Pine gets into this, doesn't want to do it, it might be nice to have the option to get it back.
Can we lease
No,
it
we
to them for
would.
$1?
Sure.
Can we lease them that equipment for $1? And when-
I would ask for that they, if it breaks, that they either have to repair or replace, or however you want to do that. But that was my plan all along. They were going to take ours.
Taking some wild passport photos. But there again, so now we're going down a whole different avenue of, we're gonna have to get a legal contract and this, that, and the other. I don't know. I think if they break it, then you're not doing passports anymore. Again, I know how much, we all know how much their millage is bringing in. They can put it in their budget and buy 7 of them. They have one for every day of the week.
If you don't want to have the equipment, I mean, I don't.
No,
care
I'm
how you
saying,
dispose.
give it to them. I'm just saying, like, if they break it, that's their own problem. That's, lease it to them for $1 and say, you break it, you bought it, whatever, have fun. But like Commissioner Mahar is saying, if they don't want to do it anymore, then we get the equipment back. I don't, and then stuff it in the closet and Phil starts doing them. I like that. I'd come to you to get my passport done.
Yeah, I do great photos.
That's what I've heard.
I don't know if I could make you good looking. but I'll
Well,
try.
God did that a long time ago, pal.
Chris, can you just let us know exactly what we would be providing to them? So I know. kind of what I'm
Absolutely.
voting on?
I can email you a picture of the camera, of the printer, with the model numbers. Sure, I'd be
That's-
happy to do that.
I mean, even just here, I'm not sure what all the
All-
equipment is.
All it is it's a camera. It's a very large camera that takes passport photos. It's then Bluetooth to this very small printer that then prints 2 identical passport photos. It has to be on special film. We haven't purchased film since 2019, so they wouldn't be getting very much to go with it. But the film is not that expensive. We figured it out. It's about $1 an image. You get 250 in a pack.
So camera, film, printer,
And there's not much film left.
lights.
And the lights were downstairs in this office, so they've been there for 10 years. And we had, 10, 11, 12 years. We hadn't even used them. It was because the lighting in the office downstairs wasn't bright enough. Passport photos have to be very specific and they have to have certain lighting, can't have shadows on the face. And where we had them, it always provided a shadow. So these were just 2 inexpensive spotlights on a track that shone down on them to remove the shadows.
Okay.
And I didn't take them there. Maintenance took them there after they took them down because we just assumed they were the only ones interested in doing it. So they ran them up there.
Okay. So that's the equipment then. Not much
Yeah,
to
that's
it.
all that, that's
Okay.
all of it. And I'm not saying they just did that on their own. There was a conversation between Doug and I that White Pine would be doing them.
So is Is this something that we can analyze? You send us what all it entails. We throw together a makeshift leasing agreement with White Pine Library for $1 that explicitly states if you get out of the passport game, we retain the equipment and everybody goes on about their merry way. Is that
Yep, and I'll be happy to draft the agreement.
Is that
if you'd
good with the
like.
board? We see what equipment this entails and then see if it's worth going from there, or what's everybody's feeling on that?
I would like to be out of the passport business myself,
What?
from
You've
the
been-
county's perspective.
Oh, okay.
And if the library is willing to take it over, because you can already do it at any post office,
Yeah, I agree.
you know.
Not-
Really.
I don't think
Just the
Win,
big
I don't
ones.
think Sydney post office is doing them.
It's just Greenville, Alma, Ionia.
They're not hard to get to.
No.
No,
And you can do them online, I think, as
gotta
well.
make an
No,
appointment.
you cannot.
But so can we all just agree that we'll wait for the clerk's inventory and get a somewhat contract built up, or is there any? I don't know what.
My comment earlier about the equipment, I mean, I'm satisfied with what she stated. I mean, I'm good with waiting, but I'm also good with it. It doesn't sound like it's a whole lot there. I mean, so I just want to make sure we weren't just giving away thousands of dollars of equipment.
Well, but I think it would be good for everybody to know what we're giving,
That's
exactly what we're giving away. I mean, I trust what the clerk says as well, but it's better to just have it in front of us and say, this is what we're giving away.
I would feel more comfortable.
Okay. Perfect.
That'll be old business at the next meeting.
There
You got
go. Remember that.
Number 2, clerk correspondence.
I don't have anything.
Number 3, controller correspondence.
Just want to remind those on collective bargaining that we have collective bargaining this Wednesday, 9 to noon and 1 to 4, 2 different unions.
I won't be here for the morning meeting,
Okay.
but Phil and I have Board of Health that he is for sure going to be at. I'm
Right.
positive. But it's
Right,
in
county.
it's in Ithaca, so Stanton is right on my way home, so I'll be here as soon as I can.
All right.
Can I walk
Wednesday.
into a closed meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
'Cause you're on that.
Well, I don't
Ready.
know.
And then just want to let you know that Lakeview is going to have another annexation at our October 23rd Board of Commissioners meeting. So that's in the works and you'll see that on a month from now. And then also one last thing, I did receive another opioid settlement for Masters Pharmaceuticals. And it was a whole whopping $966.40. So I filled out the paperwork and sent it back.
You tell that opioid committee not to spend it all on one thing.
So we'll be getting a paper check for that one. And they are already defunct. So that was what their insurance company was. That was our portion of what was coming to Michigan from their insurance company.
Can I get that amount again?
966.40.
Thank you.
And that's all I got.
Okay, number 4, chair correspondence. I don't have anything. Old business, we don't have anything. Public comments.
I have a couple of public comments. I wasn't sure whether to bring this up to add to the agenda or not, but I sent you guys an email. I sent you a couple of emails. One being planning commission related. It was brought up at last week's planning commission that we're trying to move forward with our shifting gears, shifting directions, everything else. But a few of the planning commission members are confused or would like some direction on where the board sees this committee heading, or the planning commission where it would head after it becomes loosely termed a economic development committee. I'm not sure. I told them I would bring it to you and was hoping you guys had some some sort of direction for them. I guess in my mind, and I told them that I was one out of 7 people on the board, that it would be something to where we would essentially be a think tank that would try to generate revenue attractants, try to create revenue in the county, try to bring business, bring people, bring jobs, anything we can to increase our tax base, increase, anything we can for the county. I don't know if that's the feeling of the board. Realistically, if that wasn't the direction we wanted to head, I don't personally see the validity of a committee like that. I know we already have the Montcalm County Economic Alliance. I feel that would be an appropriate enough vessel for what we're talking about. But also, if the board wanted to take a little more active role in investigating economic growth in the county, I would think that would be a good outlet for that. There is a lot of very in the know and very competent board or members on that planning commission. I think if it was steered in the right direction and pointed towards a common goal, I think it could be very very beneficial to the county. But it's just a matter of where the board sees it going. So I brought that back. I told you I was going to bring it up today. Didn't know if that was supposed to be on the agenda, but we're talking about it during public comments.
I read what you sent, and I'm having trouble distinguishing where they think they're at now from where they were at before.
As far as
They were before they were looking for direction.
yeah.
They're still looking for direction.
Well, I
They
think
don't have a budget to do anything.
right. And I guess that would be, that would be part of the conversation of would the board want to create, an economic development committee like that and provide a budget. I don't personally believe the budget should go towards any sort of mileage or per diem to pay the members. And I think there's only one member on that committee that does get paid to attend the meeting. I think it would be more towards, give us a little bit of a startup and then, roll from there. But I don't know. That's why I wanted to get everybody's feeling on it to see what we could do.
Because I was thinking they'd be coming to us with ideas, not asking us for ideas to give to them.
Well, so that's what we need. We need to know if that's what you want us to do, is come to you with ideas with either a price tag or, an involvement of saying, look, we can go out and we have this chunk of land just north of Stanton that, is coming up for tax reclaim or forfeiture, and we could buy it and market it to, we could get it zoned for a factory, just hypothetical situations like that. I don't know, but that's, I think that Darren is a great asset. He's got his finger on the pulse in that area. Mike Falcon recently joined the committee. He's a great asset. There's a commissioner on that one. He's questionable at best, but there's some pretty integral pieces there that could be beneficial. It's just a matter of if the board wants them to go that direction. Obviously, the Montcalm Economic Alliance is essentially doing the same thing, but this would be a committee that directly reports to the board and maybe gives a quarterly update of what we're thinking or where we're trying to go and make it more geared towards what can we do to improve our county rather than, well, this was a really good wind ordinance. We have no authority over it. Have a good day.
Right.
So that was, I guess, where my my vision for it was, and I didn't know I had a vision for it, but that was my thoughts.
So we have some motivated people. Seems clear they're volunteering their time,
Yeah.
their own self-interest, I assume, in some way.
I think at the end of the day, the planning commission wants to know if this is a viable option for the board, so we can reconvene and say, okay, we're going to recommend to the board to dissolve the planning commission and then shift it into, an economic development committee, because we're getting solar ordinances and wind ordinances and everything else, and townships have to send them to us by state law, and we have to send them back within 30 days, and it's just like wiping before you use the restroom. It just doesn't make any sense. So I don't know. It's up to you guys, whatever you want to do. But that's where we kind of see it. And Brenda's on the committee as well. She's,
Yeah.
well, she would be on the committee, but she was there. She can correct me if I've misspoke or left anything out, I guess.
Yeah, the gist I got from Daniel Brandt in your conversation the last time we met was they kind of wanted some affirmation on the direction we're going, and then just any kind of feedback from you as to how you thought we should be going. I did meet with Mike Scott and Dave B, and they suggested that we go through each, we're in the process of updating the general plan, and they suggested we go through each chapter, cut out all the fluffy stuff, and just get to the meat and bones of it. So we're in the process of doing that now. Probably have a public hearing in the spring. There'll be more of a public feedback, town hall type thing at the college. Once we've got the new document in place, get everybody's feedback. And then Dave's gonna MC that meeting for us and collect the feedback. And then we'll go back to the drawing board and incorporate that in the document. But basically, yeah, we're heading kind of towards a community development type committee.
Yep. So I guess, again, that's why I'm bringing it up. Obviously, we have 3 weeks before the planning commission meets again. If, anybody thinks of anything, but I guess barring any objections, I think we'll continue to work down the path that we're going, and then ultimately probably dissolve the planning commission.
Mhm.
Unless anybody has any.
Had Darren reached out to you?
Yeah, I emailed Darren and Adam both back. I thought the direction that they'd laid out looked good to me, and I think it's worth giving them a shot at that 6 months or a year, see what happens, and go from there.
Does the county still have any affiliation with that group out of Grand Rapids?
The right place?
Right place?
Mhm.
Okay. So
Yes.
where would this group fit in with that group? Aren't they?
We're thinking they'll work hand in hand with each other.
Okay.
The Montcalm Economic Alliance actually pays for a Right Place employee to be our executive director to guide us and assist us with economic growth. So utilizing all the Right Place's resources. So, but he's relatively new. He will be coming to for the 23rd meeting as well? Wants to come there to that meeting and speak to all of you. So,
Can you foresee this new planning commission kind of working with the Right Place or? Okay.
the Economic Alliance, yep.
Okay.
So we'll take that back to them. Also, we did the building tour today. We need carpet, or at least cleaning. There's a lot of pretty nasty carpet over in the court complex. We kind of talked maybe bringing in a cleaning company, maybe going out for bids for cleaning, maybe if just in the high traffic areas, and see if that, if that helps at all. And if it does, then we, get all the carpets cleaned, but, start there. If it doesn't help, then maybe we go to, a step further and say we recarpet or put in vinyl plank flooring or something like that. But I think we need to get that going sooner rather than later. But that's just me. I didn't know if we want to put it on the agenda for next month, or if we want to direct the controller to start getting bids for cleaning the carpet. Or
I think she and Doug were gonna kind of prioritize the list of things that we talked about today and start trying to plug them into a schedule of capital
Perfect.
improvements for the next few years.
And Doug and I'll sit down later this week or next week and kind of schedule those out, and I can bring that back to the next meeting as well.
If the carpet's that bad, I would wonder why you wouldn't rip it out and replace it.
I mean, it's not terrible, but there's some high traffic spots that probably could use some freshening up.
Probably isn't gonna help much.
It might not help, but it's worth a shot before we rip off
We only have
a couple $100,000 worth of carpet.
Capital improvement
I don't
fund.
know how many square feet we're talking about.
It's a lot of carpet. I mean, it's in offices. Obviously, the high traffic areas are in the hallways, but like the clerk's office out there is a high traffic door. The prosecutor's office, same
Right.
thing.
Sheriff's Department's worse.
Sheriff's Department's pretty bad, because there's boots in and out of there all day. And there's definitely priorities out there for sure. And there could be a creative halfway solution to where we vinyl plank some, and who
Right.
knows.
Right.
But other than that, I don't know if you guys have been out to the new building and all that. That there's a reason it went $1 million over budget. That's for sure. I think $500,000 worth of flooring in there, and there's like 17 patrol cars out there. If you guys need to ride home, you got plenty of them.
Any other public comments?
Yes, I got one. I think we need to look at this construction ordinance stuff and someone other figure something. I don't know if we work with somewhere with townships and try to get them to take this on. I'm just tired of every time somebody comes in here asking for a variance, we make them feel like crap thinking it's their fault. Every time somebody comes in here, it turns into that. And I just think that's terrible that, Crystal Township residents come in, it's their fault. Crystal Township doesn't have this ordinance. And today the people are feeling bad and they're getting excited and upset. And I just think it's a terrible way we do business. I mean, it's our job. We need to look at these cases when they come in individually and say yes or no and move on. If we want to change something, we need to do it on our own. We need to not make these people feel it's all their fault. The township doesn't have their own zoning.
I looked at our ordinance, and it would be a really easy fix for this case. I mean, it's just removing one point out of the ordinance. So
But it still doesn't alleviate anything out of Crystal.
no, it does not alleviate anything there.
Well, the difference between Crystal and every place else is Crystal's a residential area with a lake and everybody wants to be there. These other places are farm country that everybody has 10, 20 acres, and there's just not that many variances that are needed out in those areas. That's why Crystal's the big one.
Right. That's the difference. It's the same thing with Bush now. I mean, it's the same situation. It's just we don't get many requests because there's not many people there.
Yeah, we had one in Vickeryville a couple years ago, and for Leonard's Rock, we did one there, and we've done a couple for these other areas, but because they're open areas out, where they just don't need variances. Crystal Township, everybody wants a cottage on the lake, and their property lines are screwed up and everything else anyway. So, that's why we get so many in Crystal, but I just feel bad that when Ron Ray and all these other people come in here asking for variances, we make them leave feeling that it's all their fault.
Whose fault is it?
Huh?
Whose fault is it?
It's the township overall that has.
Have you talked to them about it?
I've talked to them many times. And every time we do one, I get chewed out because of the way we treat the people. I tell them, you guys need to be doing it yourself. And, you know,
I think
Goes
we've
from there,
said that for years, but they refuse to take it on.
so if they refuse to take it on, whose job is it to do it?
it's our job.
It's our job. So we need to do the job and quit making these people, every time somebody comes in and asks, that it's all their fault and we make them feel like crap every time they're here. I mean, you started out the last month with, I'm going to vote no on this because, period.
Absolutely.
And on, and made them feel like crap before we even got started into what we were doing. We need to handle these individually and get them done.
Any other public comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
maybe we should add to the next agenda some positive adjustments to the construction code so that maybe our building department can help us with that and get some of those programs straightened out so we don't have this issue on a regular basis.
I would like to amend the ordinance to say Crystal Township can do whatever they want. And then just let them pile houses right on top of one another. That's what I would like to do.
Any other public comments?
Briefly, I do think we have to be careful with just allowing multiple residents on one parcel. I mean, the libertarian in me says people they own the property, they can do whatever they want. I get that. But their neighbors have to live with these shanty towns, or what do you want to call them? And I can tell you from patrolling this county, there are some areas that have 3, 4, 5 dwellings on them, and they become a problem area for law enforcement, and they become a problem area for neighbors. And so we do have to respect that and not just allow people to do whatever they want just because they own the property.
But on the other hand, if our ordinance said you can have one guest house on your property, that would be fairly reasonable.
I agree.
4 units per acre, something.
So
There's got to be a way to find a middle ground there.
Would you like me to send it to legal and ask for his opinion on how to do that?
Well, I would think you'd want to get with Mike Kelka and see what he would recommend, and then
Mike would be the way.
yeah.
Okay, so Brenda's gonna do that with Mike and go from there. Any other public comments?
I would move to adjourn.
So I moved and supported to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
That went quick. You think Taco Bell's still open?